Welcome back, everyone. We start today's breaking story with a sharp reminder of why California Governor Gavin Newsom has been one of the most outspoken and consistent voices pushing back against Donald Trump and his loyalists. And honestly, whether you agree with him or not, you have to admit, he is one of the few Democrats who doesn't hesitate to fight fire with fire. In my view, that's something the Democratic Party has often lacked. Too many times they try to take the high road while the other side plays dirty, and let's be honest, that approach hasn't always worked out well. Newsom, on the other hand, is clearly not afraid to punch back. Just recently, Newsom once again blasted Trump, Fox News, and the whole pro-Trump media ecosystem with the kind of cutting remarks that make headlines. He openly called Trump a failed president, describing him as someone who projects weakness while pretending it's strength. And frankly, that's an important observation, because if you strip away the bravado, the insults, the rallies, and the constant chest thumping, what you often see in Trump is insecurity. The anger, the need for validation, the obsession with rewriting history, it all points to someone who cannot tolerate looking weak. Newsom made his point with brutal clarity. He said, "Who else would send ICE agents into communities while having conversations about freedom and liberty? Who else would call himself strong while showing such obvious weakness? This is the most unpopular president in modern history, an economy crumbling around him, a man trying to censor history itself." And here's my take. Newsom is right to highlight the contradiction. Trump has always framed himself as the strong man, the savior of America. But at the same time, he has been desperate to silence critics, to deny facts, and to avoid accountability. That isn't strength. That's fear disguised as leadership. To add to this, Newsom criticized Trump's childish behavior, saying it was almost embarrassing to see a man of his age acting with the maturity of a middle schooler. And honestly, I can't disagree. We've all seen the clips: Trump hurling nicknames, mocking people, throwing tantrums at rallies. It's the kind of thing that might be entertaining on a reality TV show, but in politics, it's just dangerous. It normalizes chaos and makes a joke out of serious issues. Newsom even added a personal touch. He said Trump had taken to calling him New Scum, a nickname so juvenile that even Newsom's kids were hearing it from their classmates. Think about that for a moment. A 79-year-old former president resorting to playground insults. Honestly, I find it sad more than anything else. Is this really the level of political discourse we've come to expect? Because if that's the case, we've lowered the bar far too much. And to give credit where it's due, Newsom didn't just stop with words. He used real statistics to hit back at Trump's talking points. He highlighted the murder rates in Republican-led states like Louisiana and Mississippi, pointing out that they're dramatically higher than California's. That's important because Fox News and Trump's allies constantly paint California as a crime-ridden liberal wasteland. But the numbers tell a different story. Mississippi, for example, has a murder rate 180% higher than Los Angeles. Louisiana's murder rate is nearly 4 times that of California. Now, here's where I want to add my personal comment. This is exactly the kind of debate Democrats need to engage in more often. Don't just defend yourself from the constant attacks. Turn the mirror back on the attackers. If they claim blue states are failing, show them the actual numbers from red states. If they cry about crime, remind them of their own backyard. Because hypocrisy has become the engine of modern politics, and the only way to deal with it is to call it out, loud and clear. Let's move to the second big angle of this story. Gavin Newsom's relentless trolling of Trump's United Nations speech and his direct shots at Fox News' Sean Hannity. Now, if you didn't catch it, Trump's address at the UN was widely criticized, not just for the content, but for the technical blunders that happened during it. His teleprompter malfunctioned, leaving him to ramble for almost an hour, and even his entrance turned into a fiasco when the escalator he stepped on suddenly stopped working. Honestly, it looked like a comedy sketch. And right there, Gavin Newsom saw an opportunity, and he took it. He mocked Trump's teleprompter disaster by condensing the most bizarre parts of the speech into a short clip, essentially highlighting how chaotic and incoherent the president sounded without his scripted words. Then came Escalator Gate. Trump was left awkwardly stuck when the escalator froze beneath him, and Newsom wasted no time tweeting, Dozy Don was defeated by the escalator. Poor guy. Here's my personal reaction. Look, some people will say mocking an elderly man stuck on an escalator is cruel. But when that man is Donald Trump, a person who has spent decades mocking everyone else, inventing childish nicknames, ridiculing people's physical appearances, it's fair game. Trump built his brand on insults and humiliation. If the tables turn and someone uses humor against him, that's not cruelty, that's karma. But Newsom didn't stop there. He went straight after Sean Hannity, one of Trump's most loyal defenders at Fox News. After Trump's UN speech, Hannity praised it as the best speech Trump has ever given on the world stage. Deep, impactful, profound. Honestly, I don't know what speech Hannity was watching, but it sure wasn't the same one the rest of us saw. Newsom clapped back with a parody tweet in Trump's infamous all-caps style. So deep, so profound. Wow, just watch here. He attached a clip of Trump telling world leaders their countries were going to hell, while bragging about being right about everything. The sarcasm was brutal and deserved. And I've got to say this, Hannity's reaction is a perfect example of the echo chamber that fuels Trumpism. No matter how incoherent or disastrous Trump's performance might be, Fox News figures like Hannity will twist themselves into knots to paint it as historic or genius. That's not journalism, that's propaganda. And frankly, Newsom calling it out with humor might actually be more effective than giving a boring fact check that most viewers will ignore. To make things even spicier, Newsom brought this fight to late-night television. On The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, he discussed his online trolling of Hannity and Trump. He said Fox hosts like Hannity were outraged because he simply held up a mirror to Trump's absurdity, and they couldn't stand it. And honestly, that's a powerful metaphor. Sometimes you don't need to invent a new argument. You just need to show people how ridiculous things already are. Now here's where my personal commentary comes in. I actually think Newsom's approach here is smart politics. We live in a meme-driven world where attention spans are short. Traditional speeches and long policy papers don't cut through anymore. But a sarcastic tweet, a viral clip, a clever parody, those things stick. And if Democrats want to compete in this environment, they have to learn to fight on that same battlefield. Newsom seems to understand this better than most. Now, let's take a step back from the trolling and look at the bigger picture. Because Gavin Newsom isn't just mocking Trump for the laughs, he's also building a political strategy that uses social media as both a shield and a sword. And frankly, that's something more Democrats should pay attention to. Newsom has turned his Twitter, or X as it's now called, into a battlefield. He's not shy about posting parody videos, sarcastic takes, and statistics that flip Republican talking points upside down. One of his key points recently has been about crime. While Trump and Fox News constantly paint California as the poster child of chaos and danger, Newsom has been quick to fire back with data showing that Republican-led states like Mississippi and Louisiana have far worse per capita murder rates. Think about it. Mississippi, the state that Trump and his allies often hold up as part of real America, has a murder rate 180% higher than Los Angeles. Louisiana's murder rate, nearly 4 times higher than California's. And yet, these numbers never make it to Fox News primetime. Why? Because they don't fit the narrative. Here's my take. This is where Newsom shines. He doesn't just defend himself, he goes on the offensive. Too often Democrats try to explain or justify their positions, but they rarely flip the script. Newsom does exactly that. He says, "You want to talk about crime? Fine, let's talk about it. But let's talk about the real numbers in your states." That's powerful, because it forces the conversation onto facts instead of fear. But it's not just about trolling or fact-checking. Newsom is also using this platform to push real political initiatives. One example is Proposition 50, which he's championing in California. This measure would allow the state to redraw its district maps ahead of the 2026 midterms. Why does that matter? Because red states like Texas have already been redrawing their maps to squeeze more Republicans into Congress. If Democrats don't fight back with similar strategies, they'll always be playing defense. Now here's where I'll add some personal commentary. This is controversial, but I think it's necessary. For years, Democrats have insisted on playing fair while Republicans bend the rules on redistricting, voting restrictions, and gerrymandering. And what's been the result? A tilted playing field. Newsom seems to understand that if Democrats don't adapt, they'll keep losing ground, even when they win the popular vote. Proposition 50 is his way of saying, we're not going to sit back anymore. And let's not forget the messaging aspect. Newsom has made it clear that he doesn't buy into the old, when they go low, we go high approach. Instead, he's embraced a much more combative stance. When Republicans are hypocritical, Democrats need to expose it. When Republicans use sarcasm, Democrats should meet it with sharper wit. That's the energy he brings every time he trolls Trump, Hannity, or Fox News. In my opinion, this isn't just theater, it's strategy. In today's political climate, being sharp, sarcastic, and unafraid to clap back isn't optional, it's necessary. If Democrats want to win hearts, minds, and most importantly, attention, they can't just be the party of policy. They have to be the party of punchlines too. Newsom gets this, and that's why he's gaining so much traction, even beyond California. As we wrap up this breaking story, it's important to understand why Gavin Newsom's strategy matters so much in the bigger picture of American politics. He's not just trading insults with Donald Trump or mocking Fox News hosts for entertainment. What he's really doing is showing the Democratic Party a blueprint for how to deal with Trumpism, a political movement built on outrage, denial, and spectacle. For years, Democrats have struggled with how to respond. Do you ignore Trump and hope he fades away? Do you fact-check him line by line? Do you try to stay above the noise and appeal to people's better angels? Well, we've seen the results of that. Trump has only grown louder, and his base has only become more entrenched. That's why Newsom's approach feels different. He's not afraid to wade into the mud, but he does it with precision and sarcasm instead of desperation. Think about it. When Trump gives a rambling UN speech, most politicians would issue a dry statement about how the president failed to lead. Newsom, instead, posts a parody video, mocks the teleprompter glitch, and throws in a jab about the escalator. And what happens? His posts go viral. They reach people who would never read a press release or watch a full debate. That's the game in 2025. Politics as performance, as meme, as viral moment, and whether you like it or not, it works. Here's my personal comment. I don't think sarcasm alone is enough. Democrats will still need strong policies, clear messaging, and grassroots support to actually win elections. But in a media landscape where attention is the currency, sarcasm is the hook that gets people to look at the facts, Newsom seems to get that balance. He ridicules Trump, yes, but he also throws in crime statistics, or mentions ballot initiatives, or draws attention to Republican hypocrisy. He mixes the joke with the substance, and that combination is powerful. Another key point. Newsom has made it clear that he's not backing down anytime soon. He said openly that mocking Trump and exposing absurdity is part of his mission. And honestly, given the endless supply of material Trump and his allies provide, Newsom won't be running out of content. From Fox News pundits like Hannity, to Republican operatives, to Trump himself, there's no shortage of hypocrisy and chaos to highlight. But the question everyone asks is, does this mean Newsom is preparing for something bigger? A presidential run in the future? He denies it for now, but it's hard not to see his moves on the national stage as building recognition beyond California. Whether he runs in 2028 or later, one thing is clear. He's carving out a unique role in the Democratic Party as the guy who can actually go toe-to-toe with Trump in the cultural arena. And let me be blunt, that matters. Because if Democrats can't find a way to break through the noise and counter Trumpism on its own terms, they risk being drowned out. Newsom shows that it's possible, not by becoming Trump, but by using wit, data, and confidence to expose Trump for what he is, a man who hides his weaknesses behind anger and bluster. So yes, God bless Gavin Newsom, as the original line of this story said, because in a political climate where too many people stay silent, he's at least saying what needs to be said. And while some may criticize his trolling, I'd argue it's not just trolling, it's strategy, it's necessary, and it's one of the few ways left to hold Trump accountable in the court of public opinion. As this story continues to unfold, one thing is certain: Trump will keep providing material, and Newsom will keep firing back. The only question now is, how far will this rivalry go, and what impact will it have on the 2026 midterms and beyond? Stay tuned, because this isn't the end of the story, not by a long shot.